Okay. So the promotional planning process, this process is really good for any type of promotional planning. For our purposes right now, we're really talking about it more focused on the email marketing side of things. But promotional planning process has several steps. When we talked about email marketing and the structure of email marketing, one of the things that we talked about is first you plan your promotions before you do indoctrination campaigns or engagement campaigns or ascension or segmentation or re-engagement campaigns. The first thing we want to do is we want to plan our promotions. Why?
Some promotions will be seasonal.
Some promotions will be seasonal. Okay. Why else? Why do we want to plan promotions first? To see what's available? What do you mean?
Like there's obvious like Christmas, Thanksgiving, but let's say, there's like a ladies' day or a specific month celebrating something else besides the normal.
Okay, well, I mean, that's part of the promotional planning process. But that still doesn't tell me why we want to plan promotions first as opposed to any of the other email processes that we do. Why do we want to plan promotions and promotional campaigns before we build out an indoctrination campaign? Indoctrination campaign is the campaign that welcomes new subscribers to your list. Here's what to expect. Here's what we're going to do. We want to plan promotions before we do that. We want to plan promotions before we do engagement campaigns. Engagement campaigns are where somebody raises their hand saying, hey, I'm interested in this. Right? We want to plan promotions before that. We want to plan promotions before the ascension campaigns. In other words, I want to plan promotions before I worry about selling someone something else if they've already bought something. Why?
So that when people move through the phases, the indoctrination and the ascension and the rest, that way you'll already have something to communicate with them.
But promotions are going to people who are not in engagement campaigns. They're going to people who are not necessarily in the ascension campaigns already. I don't want, if I'm selling widgets and humidisnets, right? If somebody raises their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in a widget, I don't necessarily want to be promoting humidisnets, right? At the same time that I'm trying to sell them a widget because they're already interested in a widget. Okay. How so?
If you don't start, you never start. If you do that just generic, like building a house, you got to have a foundation to build off of. So I think it gives you like a template or a frame.
Okay. From a client perspective, right? From a client perspective, promotions offer us opportunity for quick wins, right? So in other words, as a client, your number one concern you have is, I need to sell more. But I've got this list of people, I may or may not know what they're interested in. Right? So if I can start promoting different products and services, then one, I can use promotions as an opportunity for segmentation. Right? So if, for example, if someone sees a promotion for a widget and they click that promotion for the widget and it takes them to the website and they can now see all the widgets on the website, they may or may not buy the widget. But I know they're interested in it. So if they click it and they don't buy it, now I know there's an area of interest, right? They didn't buy it right now for a particular reason, right? So I can engage them more based on that particular promotion. But if I've got a list of, let's say, 2,000 people that I send an email out to, that's a promotional email, and I make 4 or 5 sales off of that, now I've got revenue coming in, right? So from a agency perspective, right, it's the fastest opportunity for quick wins, right? From a client perspective, it's the fastest opportunity for quicker revenue, right? That's one reason. Another reason, by doing the promotions and promotional planning first, by doing the promotional planning correctly, what we have is we have the capacity then to be able to look at seasonalities, right? Seasonalities, okay? So, for example, if I've got an HVAC company, do I want to be promoting heating repair in July? No. Is it possible that someone may purchase that service?
It's possible.
Is it likely?
It's not likely.
Okay. So it's possible, but it's not likely, right? So part of this planning process and the promotions process also allows us to look at, are there seasonalities with the business? Are there seasonalities with the products or services that are being offered, right? In the electrical business, there are these things called shutdowns, right? So factories, warehouses, industrial plants, those kind of things, they will shut down at certain times of the year so they can go in and do bigger maintenance, bigger repairs, go in and replace old things for new things, and so on and so forth, right? Planned outages, absolutely. So in that particular case, if I can know when the planned outages typically are, right? And I can know what these types of businesses typically need during that time. Now I have the capacity to be able to ramp up our promotions just before that time, right? But it also, so that gives me that capacity to be able to do that, which gives me the highest opportunity to make an ROI on that particular promotion, right? At the same time, I can also utilize that as a segmentation tool to be able to segment people out, right? By planning also the promotions, if I know the seasonality of the business, if I know the ups and downs, if I know that certain times of year things sell better than other times of year, I can also look at planning for the ups and downs of the business, right? All businesses have cycles, right? You got good times, you got not so good times, right? So all businesses have these cycles. So if I'm looking at, this is a business cycle, typically, I need to be able to put promotions on the calendar. Where do I want to put my bigger promotions?
On the biggest selling months.
Okay, on the biggest selling months.
Or times.
So, not here, but here. Why?
Because they're already buying, they're already doing, they're already active, they're already engaged.
Yeah, see, that goes contrary to most people's thought process. Most people's thought process, and that's what we had this discussion before, right? Most people's thought process is, I need to hit hot and heavy on promotions in them low times to try to increase the sales, right? That seems like it would make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, because hopefully they can bring the low to the high, even get it more.
Bring the low to the high. So something that we've talked about historically in leadership, business development, so on and so forth, is focus on your strengths, right? Delegate your weaknesses. That's a core philosophy of business and leadership development. Focus on your strengths, delegate your weaknesses, right? But a business has strengths and weaknesses. A business's economic cycles have strengths and weaknesses, right? So if I focus a large amount of promotion during these weak economic cycles, okay, I may be able to get a marginal increase. But if I'm focusing here during the strong economic cycles, then I can make a much higher marginal increase, right? In other words, going back to our HVAC philosophy, right? If this is summer and I'm looking at heat repair, if this is summer and I'm looking at heat repair, they're not selling much heat repair during the summer. It don't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how hard I hit it, right? I might be able to make a very marginal impact in their sales of heat repair during that time, right? Because it's not the season for that. Make sense? So focus on my bigger stuff. And by the way, plan my non-RGA promotions during the other times, right? My non-revenue generating activity promotions during the other time. What do I mean by non-RGA promotions?
Engagement is not a promotion or a sale, it's just a communication or a touch or content.
Okay, it could also be a promotion, but it may not be a promotion that's designed specifically for generating immediate revenue. Okay, what might be an example of a promotion that is designed for not generating immediate revenue?
Might be for review or touching base, maybe a questionnaire.
Open house.
Questionnaires are going to be more of the segmentation type campaigns, not a promotional type campaign. Asking for a review is more of an ascension campaign than it is a promotional campaign. An open house could be a temporary thing. Sure, that could be a promotion that we're doing if your business has open houses. But let's say that you're about to launch a new YouTube channel. Right? You want to launch your YouTube channel, you want to get traffic to that YouTube channel, you want to get your subscribers up, and you want to get your views and likes up, and you want to get all of this stuff up, right? That's not directly tied to revenue, but that needs a promotion, right? It needs promotions, right? It needs specific planning for specific purposes, right? To drive people to that YouTube channel to get the YouTube traffic. Okay? So go from there, linking it back to your web. So essentially, one of the non-RGA promotions would be promoting other channels, right? Other marketing channels and tools that we utilize to be able to generate more overall activity, right? If somebody goes to your YouTube channel and clicks subscribe, then they tend to get notifications whenever you post a new video, right? So if now you've got that notification when we post a new video, and maybe they're getting an email because you're doing a newsletter or something, right? A broadcast email saying, hey, we got a new video, then them seeing both of those gives us a little higher likelihood that they're going to go and watch it, right? Versus just getting the email, which they may or may not see, right? They may or may not click on, they may or may not open. Right? So we want to get better opportunities for that. If you're writing a book, right? You want to promote the heck out of the book, right? You don't want to promote it all the time. You want to promote it just pre-launch, right? Do you know what it takes, by the way, to get a number one bestseller on Amazon for a book? Promotion. But there's a specific metric. You have to sell 100 copies within an hour. At any given point, if you sell 100 copies of that book within an hour, right? And it's not one person buying 100 copies, by the way. But it doesn't have to be 100 people buying 100 copies either, right? They're not caught that dim. But at any given point, if you sell 100 copies within a 1 hour period, you're now a bestseller on Amazon. So, surprisingly, it doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot.
Yeah, because then from there you get the springboard.
Right.
Because now by seeing bestseller value, it's going to exponentially, or should exponentially.
It exponentially increases the credibility and authority that goes with that particular book, right? So at any given point, and it doesn't have to be initially, right? But if I'm building a promotional campaign and I've got thousands of subscribers on my list, right? What I may want to do is I may want to build out a promotional campaign promoting that new book to those thousands of subscribers to try to hit that 100 within an hour. Right? Get my sales in. get the awareness. Right? So there's lots of non-RGA. And by the way, I don't consider book sales to be RGAs. You don't make enough off of those. I've got more than one book on Amazon. You don't tend to make enough off of those things unless you're a Stephen King or somebody like that it's really worth spending a fortune on, right? But again, it is one of those things. It builds credibility, it builds authority, it builds lots of stuff. So there are a lot of reasons why it is that someone would want to have a book. But we want to make sure that if we're going to plan these things, we want to plan them in the down cycles, right? Is this making sense? Okay. So the first thing we want to start with when we do our promotional planning is our product asset sheet. Product asset sheet. Now, you see this product or promotional asset sheet in your list, right? The product asset sheet or promo asset sheet, call it what you will. The purpose of that particular piece is to be able to begin to list out products and or services or product categories that are available for promotion. That are available for promotion. Now, in what situations would we want to promote product categories versus specific products? In what situations would we want to promote a product category as opposed to a specific product?
For cross-sell?
Maybe.
I'm thinking more, the first thing that comes to my mind is seasonal, because if you're, say, a sporting goods store, you have swimsuits, swim goggles, fins, all the accessories for water activities in the summertime, which you wouldn't promote in the wintertime, as one example.
Okay.
Likewise, if you're a clothing retailer, you're going to want to promote your flannel shirts and your down jackets during the wintertime and not so much in the summertime.
Okay.
But that's so those are two retail examples, but I'm sure there are others.
So,
There's another I thought of. Typically it's the fall, around October, when a lot of businesses are doing their new budgets.
okay.
And so they'll have more money to spend on, for example, marketing and promotions than they will throughout a lot of the rest of the year.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's think about it simply. Take JCPenney, for example, right? JCPenney, they're going to focus on a promotion, a specific promotion for a month, right? Annual promotional planning, right? So you build a promotion into a month, okay? So we're getting close to, let's say we're getting close to Christmas time. They want to promote something for the month. Do they want to promote the large ladies' blouse in mustard yellow that has ties in the back? Is that what they want to specifically promote? Why?
It's very limiting.
How so?
Seasonal.
Well,
Okay, it's seasonal.
I don't know, the weight of the blouse or small, like yours or whatever, but of all their product lines, it just makes more sense to cast a wider net and choose a category, whether it be blouse heads or pants.
Okay.
Tops.
Okay, so in large part, the problem comes when you have such a wide variety of specific products, right? They may have the same blouse in different sizes: extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, extra large, 17X, I don't know. You know, they may have it in that. They may have it in 14 different colors. But you've now limited to one blouse, one size, one color. What have you just done to your entire target market?
Decreased it dramatically.
Yeah. In fact, if they have 50,000 subscribers, they may actually have 2 people that are interested in that, but you're going to focus an entire month on that? Doesn't make sense, does it? So the point herein lies in the fact that when your products or services offered are typically offered in categories as opposed to specific products or services, you want to promote them in categories. Example. You may have a lot of people that work in the electrical world, and they do a lot of work with circuit breakers. They may not deal a lot with air handlers or motor starters or any of that kind of stuff, right? They may not deal a lot with those kinds of things. They may deal a lot with circuit breakers, right? But if I were to sit back and say, okay, what we want to promote, you've got this high dollar square D, right? 2,500 amp breaker, right? That would be a good sell to make that sell, right? But how often on average do you actually sell that specific product?
Once, maybe twice a year.
Okay. So that being said, if I promoted that specific product, chances are I'm not going to get very far with that. Because it is such a specific product that is designed for a specific need at a very specific time, right? I would have to, literally, it's like being blindfolded, spun around 15 times, handed a flaming bow and arrow, asked to hit a target that specifically has to hit the fuse on a firecracker, light the firecracker and make the firecracker go off. Good luck, right? You're pretty darn close to that whole idea of, I got struck by lightning while I was being struck by lightning. You know what I'm saying? Literally, the great white shark had me in its mouth and lightning struck it right between the eyes and killed it, and I got away, right? Statistically, you're getting that close, right? But oftentimes, by the way, these are the kind of things that we actually hear from clients. Well, I want to promote this particular product. Okay, that makes no sense. Realistically, I could send out 50,000 emails to your 2,000 people list over the next 4 months, and you may or may not sell one because it's too specific, right? But if I were to promote circuit breakers in general, and a person saying, you know what, I need a circuit breaker, and they get that email that's talking about circuit breakers, and I'm linking to the circuit breakers category where they can go and find the specific one that they need, right? Now I have a much higher likelihood for success. Does that make sense? These are the times in which we want to focus when we're looking at our promotional asset sheets. We want to focus on product categories instead of specific products. Now, if you've got a business that has 4, 5, 6 products, then you're going to focus on specific products, right? But when you got somebody that has 1,500, 1,600, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 products, right? You're not going to focus that specific, right? Very rarely do you see something that's that specific. Matter of fact, virtually the only time, one of the only times that you'll see something in email marketing that's that specific actually comes from Amazon, right? And Amazon will do, it's one of those types of emails, hey, why don't you find something nice off your wish list? And they'll give you some pictures of things from your wish list, and it'll, link to your wish list. Or, since you bought this, you may be interested in this. Or you recently browsed and looked at, so you may be interested in that. While that's okay for Amazon, that actually doesn't work for the vast majority of businesses. Okay? And it doesn't work, even though that is essentially it's engagement and so on and so forth. It's used with tagging versus browsing on a website. So when you go to the Amazon.com website and you click on a product and you read through the product and so on and so forth, they're essentially tagging you with interest in that particular product. That's how they build their recommendations lists, and that's how they build all of that kind of stuff, right? So the reality of it is, though, is some of the flaws that I see in those specific things are, like with Amazon, I do a lot of shopping on Amazon, right? A large chunk of the gifts that I buy are on Amazon. Now, Amazon is giving me these recommendations. You may be interested in. No, I'm not at all, in fact, interested in. I was buying a gift for somebody. You would think if you mark gift receipt on there that they wouldn't put it in recommendations. That's kind of an obvious for me, right? Don't recommend more of that to me because I marked it was a gift, and it's kind of a flaw in their own system, right? Something that needs to be addressed and adjusted. And it's very difficult, by the way. You can actually have things removed from your recommendations. It's just not easy to do so, right? So, looking at that, we have to go for the bigger picture. We're not Amazon. We don't have, 1 billion subscribers on our email list either, right? So, a little different. Promotional asset sheet. So when we're looking at the promotional asset sheet, what we want to look at is product or service, or in this particular case, product category, right? All right. So we use Pat as an example here. What product categories do you have, Pat?
Multi-case breakers.
All right.
Breaker parts, which is multi-case breaker. Motor starters. Starter parts.
Automation.
Air breaker parts. And then pretty much I can categorize everything under that. We've got panels and panel boards. All
Okay.
go wide gamut.
Circuit breaker parts fall into one of these categories?
They're their own. I mean, multi-case breakers is the largest by far.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just call it circuit breakers and circuit breaker parts. Okay. Now, ideally, by the way, this list should match what's on the website, right? The categories that are on the website. So, if these are categories that we have, and these are not categories that are on the website, then that may be a function of, okay, maybe we need to go back and take a look at the website and build some new categories or add some new categories and recategorize some of this stuff, right? So that way we can get more specific to this. Now, one of the questions on the promotional asset sheet is price. But when we're doing product categories versus specific products, we don't necessarily know a price, right? What would be a price range for circuit breakers?
Oh Lord, $2,500 up to $10,000.
$25 up to $10,000, right? What does that tell us as far as our promotional asset sheet?
Wide.
Okay. Wide is the path, right? Narrow is the gate. Yeah. So it means that, again, when we're doing the email marketing, we don't necessarily want to focus on specific price, right? So in this particular case, in a different situation, right? In a different situation, let's say that you've got somebody that offers an online class, right? And the regular price is $997 for that particular class. So we can put that price down there, right? Why would we want to know the price specific for that?
If you're interested in taking a class.
Okay. But if we're building email marketing, if you're doing a class and if the price is $997, why would we want that to be on our promotional asset sheet?
may not.
Okay, you're dancing around it though. So, yeah, I'm going to ask about profit margin next, but that doesn't answer why I want to know about the price.
It's your starting point, so you can build your promotion around that if you want to reduce the price for a given reason.
Absolutely. So the first question is what's the price? Second question is going to be what's the profit margin, right? So if I know the class, the retail price is $9.97, and let's say the profit margin is $600, meaning the cost is $397. That gives me some indication of what kind of a range I could utilize if I'm going to offer discounts, right? So when we're looking at that kind of stuff, we want to be able to see that, to be able to say, okay, man, and by the way, there may be some times that you would want to run a promotion at full price. Okay? There may be a lot of times that you would want to run a promotion at full price. A promotion doesn't necessarily mean that we're always offering discounts. Okay? It doesn't always mean that we're offering discounts. Promotions are as much about generating awareness, right, of a particular product, service, or product service category as they are about getting discounts so we can get more sales. Sometimes it is appropriate to offer discounts, right? Sometimes it is not appropriate to offer discounts. Sometimes the consumers expect discounts, right? If you're doing a Black Friday promotion, for example, then consumers expect to get discounts on Black Friday promotion, right? If you're offering our Black Friday deals and it's full price, right, people are going to look at that and be like, wait a minute, what? Buy this at this price any day of the year. Right?
Some retailers do that anyway.
Some retailers do that anyway. Some retailers actually mark up their stuff just before so they can mark it down during. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that mess. I had used to buy this dog food for a dog that I had that passed away, Camille, and bought this same. She was old, right, 16, and so she didn't have any teeth, and really didn't have any teeth for several years, and so she couldn't eat dry food. She had to eat wet food, right? And so I bought the little cans of wet food. And I had been buying these cans of wet food for years. Same wet food, same brand of wet food, right? So I've been buying these cans, buying them at Walmart for years for 78 cents a can. And I walk in one day and I go back to the back where the dog food was and went to buy the cans, and I immediately got ticked off, right? There was a sign on the can, on the canned food, and it said rollback, right? Was $1, now 78 cents. I've been buying this food for years for 78 cents. It's never been $1, ever, right? Why do you think they would do something like that?
Promote the thought that it's on sale and make the consumer frenzy go buy it.
Absolutely. It's a specific psychological marketing tactic that was used specifically to try to get more of that particular product sold. We're not actually offering a discount. We're giving you a perception for those people who haven't been paying attention to what the actual price was, right? We're giving you a impression that we just dropped the price by 22%. Yeah. So, again, it's important for us to know price when we're promoting a specific product or service. It's also important for us to know profit margin. Okay. Now, if we're not promoting a specific product or service, but we're promoting a category, is it important for us to know a profit margin?
Yeah, category profit margin.
Category profit margin.
Yeah.
Why?
If in the event you're going to offer promotions, discounts, incentives, you want to know that you're staying a certain profit margin at the end of the game. To where
Absolutely.
Your net.
Absolutely. So I may have a profit margin without a price, right? And in this particular case, I may know that my profit margins are, let's say my profit margin is 50%, right? So if my average profit margin is 50%, then I know if I'm creating specific promotions, right, I could promote discounts up to that 50% mark, and they're essentially not losing any money, okay? So if I offer a 10% discount, great. Offer that 10% discount, they're still making a 40% margin, right? I don't want to offer a 60% off sale, right? Yeah, because now they're paying money to give things to people, right?
You'd also want to know your profit margin as it relates to your revenue goals.
Could be, absolutely.
If you're planning your promotions in light of your revenue goals, that should give you some guidance.
Well, absolutely. So if I'm planning out promotions for a month, and let's say in our case, let's say that we want to promote circuit breakers in this particular month, right? So I may be talking about circuit breakers, running promotions on circuit breakers. I may run a promotion to people that haven't bought circuit breakers, right? To get awareness about circuit breakers to them, right? I may run a promotion about circuit breakers to people that have bought circuit breakers with a 10% discount, right? This is important, the importance of segmentation, right? So I offer them a 10% discount. But I may look at, okay, let's do a flash sale this Friday through Sunday, and we're going to offer a 30% discount these 3 days out of that particular month, right? So I now have a coupon that's only good for that particular period of time, right? And so might you get some people that would take advantage of that?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. But again, if you're promoting it the entire month, you're going to have some people that will go in and will buy things, and they'll buy things, and they'll buy things, right? And you get that little bit of frustration from time to time, but you also get additional sales from time to time, right? If you ever went to the store and bought something and then went back to the store a week later and it's like on sale, right? It's like, if I just waited, dang it, right? But now you know they run sales, right? So since now you know they run sales, you're also keeping your eyes open a little bit more later down the road for those sales.
So if someone's watching you that close as a consumer, you could do quarterly sales and announce it as such.
Right.
That way they know the next quarter.
You could do little different opportunities, right? Or you could do consistent sales, right? So we're doing a flash sales the third Friday of every month, right? Friday through Sunday, the third weekend of every month, we do a flash sale. So we have a particular category, right? And so if people are watching that closely, then they're going to be able to figure out, okay, well, it's kind of like Hobby Lobby, for example, right? If you know anything about Hobby Lobby, you go into Hobby Lobby and you can buy picture frames this week and they're 50% off. Next week they won't be 50% off, but the following week the frames will be 50% off. You know that structure, right? They've done it so long, so consistent that okay, these things are going to be 50% off on this particular week, and I wait a week and these things are going to be 50% off, and I can plan my time and this, that, and the other. And then also Hobby Lobby gives that 40% off coupon on their website that you can go and download. It's good for one item, right? And so you pull it up on your phone and they'll scan it, and at any given point, well, that one item will be 40% off, right? People know that. There's consistency in that. Now, if they sell that frame at 50% off, are they still making money?
Yes.
Of course they are, because they know their profit margins, right? Their profit margin is going to be greater than 50%. But the thing that they also know is that if the frames are in the back of the store, right? It's kind of like milk and eggs at Walmart, right? If the frames are in the back of the store and you've got to walk all the way through all that cool stuff to get to that particular frame at 50% off, there's a chance that you're going to buy something besides just that frame, right? And so that increases their overall per transaction revenue, right? Same thought process when we're doing email marketing. This is why promotional asset sheets are important, right? It's important for us to begin to break all this stuff down. So essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sheets is what we're looking at.
The top 2 categories need to go away.
Okay.
So we're trying to,
So you're working on those?
yes,
Okay.
because the automation we scored the load, and all of a sudden it's like, we're really getting heavy on automation. So it's
Okay.
not there. But those are existing.
So do you have air breakers and air breaker
I don't
parts,
have
or is it
all
only?
breakers, I just have air breaker parts.
Okay.
Just the controls.
Okay. So in this particular case, then we know we're going to need 2, 4, 5 product asset sheets, right?
And the other one, which is absolutely needs to go away, is the last one. Electrical enclosures is another one. Merchandise is the one that we're probably going to go away with, the shirts and hats. It's just not hidden. But electrical enclosures is a current category, which is doing well. I'm on the fence about merchandise. It's current, but I don't know if I'll keep it.
I would not recommend putting merchandise in necessarily in the promotional assets. So when we're looking at promotional assets, one of the things that we want to look at is what do we actually want to promote? I have products and services that we offer that I will not actively promote, right? I'm not going to actively promote those products and services. In part, some of them have very small profit margins, right? So the profit margin is not enough for me to waste the emails that I'm sending to people on something like that. Some of it is because the tendency that we have is to utilize those products and services as part of a greater package, right? I can sell certain things individually. And if a person were to ask, hey, do you guys have this? Absolutely, right? But I'm not going to waste the email space, in essence, promoting that. I want to look at, essentially, what are the biggest deals? What are the things that are going to make me the most money if I can get buyers buying them, right? That's really where my primary targets are when developing the promotional asset sheet. So same thing. I mean, if I'm looking at setting up an email marketing program for an insurance agency, right? That's a full service insurance agency. They sell car, they sell home, they sell life, they sell health, they sell everything, right? One thing I'm never going to promote, vision insurance or dental insurance. I'm not going to promote that. If you're a dental insurance agency, that would be a little different. But as a full service agency, I'm not going to promote vision or dental insurance. Why? Yeah, the profit margin is small and the premium is small, right? So insurance agencies make a commission off the sale, right? So if I'm selling you vision insurance, that's $189 a year, and I make 10% of that, right? Chances are, again, I have other things that could be offered that would be of greater value to the organization. The exception to that would be in companies that offer things like service plans. Right? If I've got an HVAC company and the HVAC offers an annual maintenance agreement, right? I want to promote that. Okay? And the reason why I want to promote that is because it tends to have even though the dollar amount is smaller, it tends to have a much higher profit margin and it's recurring revenue. Where a lot of these companies make the majority of their money, kind of like yours, it's made on one-time revenue. Right? You sell something, you don't make any more money off that. You got to sell something else to make more money, right? So when we can promote things that offer recurring revenue, even though maybe a smaller dollar amount, but it has a higher profit margin, right? Now I can increase that ongoing recurring revenue. Make sense?
Well, I would think, and without going too far afield, another reason there are certain services or products you don't want to offer or promote, I should say, is because it has to do with branding and positioning.
Okay.
You know, a full service, or let's just say a life insurance company, while they may offer dental insurance, they don't want to be known as the dental insurance company.
Sure. Absolutely. So that's one of those things that, because most life insurance sales are made physically in person, not really over the phone or online or whatever, because most of those are made there, then it's an easy conversation for the agent to have to be able to upsell, cross-sell, right? Right. but you make a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
So,
So lose the merchandise and the service
yeah.
as far as what's current on the website.
Oh, no, leave the merchandise on the website. What's it hurting?
Like,
What is merchandise hurting on the website? Then why would you lose it?
we don't sell it, but
It's not hurting anything being there, is it?
no.
Okay. And, the thing about it is, so my theory on that for your merchandise, okay, it's not going to be common that people are going to buy a hat with your company logo on it, or a cup with your company logo on it, or a shirt with your company logo on it, right? But for people to see it there and see that it's for sale, if I run a promotion, right, that's based on sales at some point, and part of that promotion includes free merchandise, they can go to the website and look at the merchandise and see the value of what they've been given. Right? For example, if you're selling a coffee mug for $10, right? And you send somebody a free coffee mug in the mail, they go to the website and they look, these coffee mugs are they're like $10. They give me that, man, right? What you've given them psychologically is $10. Doesn't matter what it costs you to do it.
The perception of value.
Right. Perception of value creates value. Right? So I wouldn't get rid of it off the website. It's just not something you actively promote through email.
Okay.
Right? So remember, when we're talking promotional assets, we're not necessarily talking about just the website. We're talking about specifically in the email. Right? What types of things do we want to build campaigns around? Make sense?
Besides that, I lose this thing about 4 times a day. Probably gonna lose it for real one time. I think it's that opportunity for a
Come on. Got 10 cases over.
So another thing we want to ask on the promotional asset sheet, what we want to look at is we want to look at ease of sale. Right? Ease of sale. Ease of sale, scale of 1 to 10. 10 being super easy to sell, 1 being very difficult to sell. Right? Why do we want to know that?
What's flying off the shelf and what I need to keep putting in inventory. I line circuit breakers. I mean, anytime I get a chance to buy them, I'm hoarding them.
Oh, absolutely.
Sell.
Yeah, some things have longer sales cycles than others, right? So you may find that some categories have longer sales cycles than others, right? In other words, you may sell electrical enclosures a lot more than you sell starter parts, right? And if that's the case, it may be because starter parts is a little bit more difficult of a sell. In your industry, it may be just that those things don't go bad quite as often, right? So if they don't go bad quite as often, or they don't need to be replaced quite as often, then it's a longer sales cycle, right? Somebody may buy one of those today, and it may be 5 years before they need another one. Right? Same thing with high value companies, right? You have a high-end AV company that has an average contract between $40,000 and $100,000, right? That's not something you just walk up off the street, knock on somebody's door, and say, "Hey, you want to give me $100,000 for this new AV system?" Right? That's a longer sales cycle, right? So knowing the degree of difficulty and how long the typical sales cycle is important, because when we're building those email marketing things, again, the expectation that a lot of people will have is, I'm going to start email marketing today and I'm going to make sales tomorrow, right? It depends, is the moral of the story. It depends on the sales cycle and the ease of sale.
So every one of these promotional asset sheets should be per category.
Right. So essentially what we have is we have one of these sheets per, right? Has it been previously sold with email? That's kind of obvious, right? If yes, what were the results? If you ever promoted that category or that product or service specifically in email, then we want to know kind of what were the results. In other words, what were the click-throughs on that? What kind of sales did we generate off that? What were we tracking off that, right? And we also want to know, is it currently available to promote? Okay. And there are times and reasons why someone may offer a product or service, but it may or may not be currently available to promote. If it's not available to promote, we want to know why, right? So, that being said, an example of that would be you've got a particular product that you want to sell, right? But maybe it's not available to promote because they're out of stock and you've got to wait 3 months before they come back in stock, right? It kind of goes to, I bought that new house not that long ago, right? And it's way out in the middle of the country. And so got land and all that kind of stuff. So there is no Spectrum internet, Charter internet, AT&T. There's no fiber. There's no cable internet. You can get, there was two options. One was to get satellite internet, which was junk. The other one is a company that actually offers, in essence, what would be like a mobile internet type deal that's a TCP/IP, right? It's a very specialized service. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and order that. So I went ahead and ordered that and paid them $185 for the box to be shipped to me, and waited a couple of weeks, and I didn't get the box, and I'm like, oh heck, what's the deal? What's going on? Then waited another couple of weeks and didn't get the box. And I finally emailed, and I'm like, I ordered this a month ago. And then I finally I picked up the phone and called, and the lady's like, I'm so sorry because of all the issues that have been going on in the world lately. Or the manufacturer who manufactures the boxes is having difficulty getting the supplies they need to be able to manufacture the boxes. And so that's put us behind. So,
speaking of an email campaign.
Yeah, 4 months later. Yeah.
That's an opportunity.
4 months later, it came in the mail 2 days ago. Right? Finally got the box. Service works great. So I plugged it in, got it activated, got the thing plugged in. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I can watch Netflix again at home, without being on my phone. And so, all right, no communication, right? That's a problem with an email campaign, with not having email campaign communications, this, that, and the other. I mean, as a company, they should be communicating better than that because that's going to take a lot of people off, right?
30 days, 60 days.
Oh yeah, I mean the service is actually better than what I thought now that we've got it plugged in and it's going, right? But that whole 30 day, 60 day, 90 day, we're just past 120 days now and I haven't got a box. Why might I have to track you down, right? So that's one of those things that we want to ask. Is this currently available to promote? We may not... The frustrating thing with that particular company, if we were doing the email marketing for them, that's the only service they offer. And they can't start charging their monthly fees until you actually activate the box. So they can sell you the box, but they may not have any on hand. Right? That's a little crazy as a business model. I'd be looking at where else can we get these things made. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the reasons why we want to ask this stuff. Is there something that we can't promote, and why can't we promote it right now? Right? So there may be a delay on that. Now, once we get the promotional asset sheets filled out, the next step is our annual promotional planning worksheet. All right, so Pat's got his categories now. Right? We want to get the balance of that little bit of information filled out for those particular categories, and we'll be good to go. Our next step is our promotional planning worksheet, our annual promotional planning worksheet. And so when we look at the annual promotional planning worksheet, the worksheet itself is relatively simple. It's relatively simple. It's relatively straightforward. Okay, so you got month, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, so on and so forth. You have a column for goals. You have a column for set promos. We have a column for revenue goals, and then we have a column for potential promotions. So let's take a look at these. All right, so month goals. What are we looking for in goals right here? Now remember, we already have a column for revenue goals.
Sales goals, how many units or how many clients for a service?
Okay, could be sales goals, units, clients, so on and so forth.
Call to action, please.
You're looking at KPIs now. That's not, we're annual planning. We're not that specific. Okay? So you just went from a 30,000 foot overview to this is my daily looks. Right? I'm looking at for a month. What are our goals? What do we need to know before we start setting goals?
What sells the most? What's in stock? What's the past RGA?
Absolutely. So the first thing we want to start with is the overall 12-month revenue goals. Right? What do we want to try? What's our target for the year? What's the overall revenue goal for the year? Right? Now, one of the questions that we want to ask with this, right, is where were you last year? So for example, if someone says, well, we did $100,000 last year, but our revenue goal this year is $1.4 million. What would lead you to believe that you can 12 times your previous annual revenue over the course of a year? What happened, right? We got to get a little bit of that reality every now and then with people. Had that conversation with a client yesterday. The guy was like, I should be making $4,000 a month on Spotify. Dude, you have 2 songs on Spotify and you get paid 0.91 pennies per stream. Of which, by the way, that's the total revenue, but because you're using a distribution service for that, you only get 85% of that 0.91 pennies per stream. Do the math. Do you know what kind of streams it takes?
Talking about orders of magnitude.
Yeah, millions.
Just a hair under 4,000.
Yeah. So, it's millions, right? So part of this process too is making sure that we set appropriate expectations. Okay? 12-month revenue goals, where do you want to be? So that's where we want to look at that. Now, before we look at breaking down the revenue goals, we want to list out the non-revenue goals. Right? Are we going to launch a new blog? Are we going to do a new podcast? Are we got a new book? Are we opening a new location? Are we starting a new YouTube channel? What non-revenue goals do we have for the year? Right? And then I want to start, that's column 1, right, of our goals. So I want to start looking at slotting those non-revenue goals into the specific months. Now, what months do I want to look at slotting those non-revenue goals into?
The low months.
Months that are historically the low months, right? Because we've already said that we can make some small impact with promotions during those months, but I don't want to waste, right? I may want to use those months more for awareness of other things.
So in your goals column on your sheet, you would want your 12-month revenue goals broke down per month.
That's revenue goals.
Okay.
12-month revenue goals.
Non-revenue would go with goals.
Non-revenue is going to go in goals or overall goal targets, right? So we can put in there that I have a goal to sell, 4 units in this particular month, or, I need to get 8 new customers in this particular month, or whatever, just to give yourself an idea of what you're trying to hit. Okay. But primarily our goals there are, we want to focus on our non-revenue goals. Okay. I may have a goal, by the way, a non-revenue goal. I may have a goal for a particular month of increasing brand awareness. That's a non-revenue goal. Okay? So I want to focus this month on increasing brand awareness overall for the company. Now that may be something that you're using email in conjunction to other marketing techniques, right? So I may be using Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or Google ads or something like that to generate overall awareness that's driving people to a specific landing page where they sign up for a freebie, get on the email list, right? And that's how I'm increasing my email list. So one of my goals may be to increase my email list by 500 subscribers. Right? That's a non-revenue goal. Okay? Subscribers equal leads, right?
Speaking of the email, the other day, last Thursday, we talked and eBay, on Amazon still allows you to harvest emails and they go straight, it's automated, go to their CRM. Yesterday, they announced and started implementing, at the same time they give the announcement, no longer, they'll give a bogus you won't see the customer's email. You still see phone number and ship to address.
I told you that was a matter of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I was sitting there saying when I read it, I was like, God! And sure enough, I went and I looked at the next sale that we had. They did that. It sent out some bogus long, ABCDEFG, blah, 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 at eBay.com. That was masking their email and you couldn't harvest it.
Right.
So now what do you do? We can phone up and call every single one of them?
No, it's a matter of utilizing other techniques to be able to harvest email addresses versus just what you've been given through eBay, right?
That's been our biggest.
Yeah.
Just because it's hooked up, it's self-generated, it goes straight to CRM. Because it's a tracker.
Yep. And so, the other thing with that is if you know that if you send an email to that particular person, that masked eBay email, but if they receive it in their regular email and it's just masked, right, and they come back to your website and make a purchase, they're going to register through the website for.
But then eBay's going to hit me if I do anything outside of the realm to promote sales and any other thing outside of them. They're going to automatically charge me the fee of what we would have sold on that item.
Maybe.
That's what they say.
That's okay.
It's like,
that's okay because it's still a sale.
but then they're going to slack you and say they're going to decrease your promotion, which you're paying for.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder, man. They get
It's all right.
rolling the changes and punches.
That's right. There's always ways.
Yeah.
There's always ways, right? So, so 12-month revenue goals is overall. We're just getting a picture of where we want to be, right? First, then we want to list our non-revenue goals. The next thing we want to do is we want to look at what holiday promotions do we want in particular months, right? So under set promos, right? The first thing I want to look at set promos is what months, what holidays, right? So for example, you're going to put Christmas in December, right? You may put 4th of July in July. You want to put a Thanksgiving / Black Friday / Cyber Monday, whatever, in November, right? So look at the holidays. Now, one of the things that I generally suggest is look at holidays also that may be specific, not just the standard holidays, right? So you may have holidays that are specific to your industry or months, right? National Electrical Awareness Month, right? If it exists, right, take advantage of it, right? So figure out how are you, what all can I look at? What can I look at for particular months? Every month, every single month has some kind of holiday in it, whether it's a major holiday, minor holiday, or something nobody's ever heard of kind of holiday, right? So sometimes you can do those things for that. So look at what months you want to do those things in. Now, for example, with Christmas, you may do Christmas promotions, right? And then you may do Christmas promotions the entire month of December, right? Or some sort of Christmas promotion the entire month of December. But it may be where, as we're getting up close to Christmas Eve, right? You're now looking at it more as a flash sale type promotion, right? I want to. Let me get those quick hits in.
You can do like a first day of Christmas. You can
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you can get as creative as you want to get with those kind of deals. It's a matter of just looking at, first is we want to look at what holidays do we want to essentially run promotions around in what month. Now, I would not do too much with too many holidays in specific months, right? I mean, if you've got a month that may have, you know, National Grandparents' Day, it's got Father's Day in it, it's got, you know, you've got the Flag Day, President's Day, Memorial of the President's Day, you've got, you know, National Cheese Day, you know, it's, you know, one of those, it's, you know, Thyroid Cancer Awareness Month, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can literally go, there's websites and places where you can go, you can get a list of all these holidays, and there may be 50, 60, 70 things in a given month. You know what I'm saying? So with that, it doesn't mean I want to hit them all. That's part of my planning here, is what do we want to promote around. Okay. Then we also want to slot annual promotions in the appropriate month. Annual promotions. What do I mean by annual promotions?
Once a year.
It could be a once a year promotion, or it could be yearly promotions, right? Let's say, for example, it's not necessarily a holiday or anything like that, but you've got a business that has they have an annual event that they go to, right? And that annual event falls into February every year. So if they do that annual event, then you want to slot some promotions around that annual event, right? So an annual promotion may be an annual event that you do. An annual promotion could also be an annual sale that you do, right? You've seen some of those. Businesses will have a biannual sale, so that, you know, every year in July they're going to have a big sale for whatever. It's our biannual July sale. Okay, whatever. If there's anything that applies to the business on an annual, semi-annual, whatever, on a recurring basis, that you need to be able to promote. We also want to look at that seasonality. So I can look at and say, I can literally write down in the corner of that section a B for busy and S for slow, right? So I can denote on here, you know, maybe every March is very, very slow, right? So I'll just put in the corner S for slow. That's going to help me with scheduling out those non-revenue goals and other promotions that go along with it.
So like for us, August and July are interchangeably. The last 2 years been definitely best months.
Absolutely.
So July.
So August and July, July and August, we're going to put B for busy, right, on July and August, right? And so remember, we started with listing our non-revenue goals. Now that we're looking at slow and busy, the next step is to actually slot them. So our first step was listing the non-revenue goals, launching a podcast, starting a new blog, new YouTube channel, whatever it may be that's a non-revenue goal. We made a list of those things. Now that we know the busy and slow months, we want to slot those non-revenue goals. Once we do that, then we want to go back and take a look at our product asset sheets, right? And we want to break out our revenue goals by the month, okay? Keeping seasonality in mind. Now, so when you're looking at the revenue goals column, we got target, expected, and remaining. Right? Target, expected, and remaining. So when we look at these things, the first thing that I actually want to slot before I slot the target is I actually want to slot the expected first. Okay, what do you think? What do you think the difference is? You got target, expected, and remaining.
Expected
Yes. So at the end of the day, it doesn't do me much good if you say I need to make $35,000 this month, for example, if I don't know what historically you've been averaging on that month, right? So if you say I need to make $35,000 in this month and your historical average is $3,000, that's $32,000 in a month. That's, that's lofty. Okay? That's lofty. Right? But if you say, my target is $35,000 in the month and, our average is $25,000 in the month, I know essentially my target is not 35, my target is 10. Right? So if their target for the year is $400,000, we're not taking $400,000 dividing it by 12, right? And that's our target every month. That's not it. So what we want to do is we now have that total annual goal, right? $400,000. Now we go in and we list out the expecteds. In other words, what have you been averaging in each of these months? 400,000 minus those expecteds, right? Now I know an amount, but I'm not just dividing that by 12 because I'm adjusting for those seasonality issues, right? So if you've got a month where in busy months you're averaging $40,000, but in slow months you're averaging $5,000, I'm not gonna look at, okay, I need to make up the difference, okay? Because that's not realistic. I want to hit some sales during that month. I want to top it off a little bit during that month, but I want to put a little bit higher targets in the months that I know are good months, right? And again, adjust those things accordingly. Does that make sense? And so ultimately, when I look at remaining, it's the remaining is the number that my focus area is on for the promotions that we build out. Right.
And then set your targets off that based on anticipated growth.
Correct.
And then
The remaining is the target for marketing, specifically for marketing for that particular month.
What you hope to, the difference of.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're used to making $30,000 in this month and your target for that month is $35,000, then essentially what we want is we want the marketing to generate additional $5,000, right? The email marketing to hopefully generate $5,000 in sales, right? And that hits your overall target.
The light just went off.
Right.
Or came on.
Right. And some businesses will also have expected because they may already have recurring revenues too. So they may have average sales, but they may already have recurring revenues as well, right? That's why you do this process once a year too, because if you have increased your sales last year, right, and in your business you have some of a recurring revenue, then that recurring revenue should increase, so your expected should be increasing on a yearly basis, right? All right. So now we're looking at, okay, good month. We've looked at good months, bad months. We've looked at non-revenue goals. We've looked at revenue goals. We've looked at all this kind of stuff. We're slotted in, okay, this is what I want to promote on this particular month based on our seasonalities of that. Now, the next thing I want to do is, if in the far right column, potential promotions is going to give me essentially additional promotional ideas. So I want to brainstorm about additional promotional ideas. Why?
Future.
Okay, future. That's one reason. What else?
Filling the gaps.
Okay, there may not be any gaps. I mean, if I've got a target for a month, if I'm going to focus on circuit breakers this month, that's my focus for the month. But I may want additional promotional ideas. I also may want alternate promotional ideas. Why?
If the first original ones don't work.
Yeah, so if I get 2 weeks into the month and the promotions aren't working at all, then I may need to spin that and do something a little bit different.
ideas and they want to contribute and bring a piece. And in that small setting of just us, it's like, yeah, we got this thing figured out. This is going viral and it's going to rock. And it's like, you hear that? Yeah, it's crickets. It's not gaining the traction because we had the buzz in the room, but we didn't convey the buzz to everybody else.
That's right.
What happened? So having that.
Yep. So it's called pivoting techniques, right? So pivot. All right. So the next thing we do is we want to spot check and adjust. In other words, spot check through this thing, take a look at it again, make sure that that our goals are achievable goals, right? You get somebody that says, well, I did $100,000 last year, but I want to do $1.2 million this year. By the way, I have an email list of 10 people. Yeah, I mean, are you selling air and you have the market on it is what I want to know, So, right. Are these SMART goals? Or, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, right? And then and only then do we finish it up with any additional needs that may be out there. In other words, do we need to add a new product or service into the mix, right? Is there something else that the market wants that you're not giving them? Do we need to look at sales presentation? Do we need to change out how things are being presented, right? What do we need to do? Now, with all of this, one of the things that we also want to collect is any promotional materials that you already have, right? So if you already have brochures or sales letters or emails that you've done in the past that were successful, or emails that you've done in the past that weren't successful, right? We'd like to get copies of those kinds of things because we can see what you did. If it wasn't successful, we want to figure out why. What was wrong with it, right? Because again, it may be that you had the right general idea, just the wrong verbiage. Right? Now, once we get this thing filled out, once we get the promotional planning worksheet filled out, the next step is initial quarterly planning that will transition into a rolling quarter. Initial quarterly planning. Initial quarterly planning is where we actually take a little calendar template for 3 months, right? And we're actually now going to write on it. So if we're in December and we're planning out for January, we're going to write January on here. We're going to put our revenue target. In other words, the revenue target right here is the remaining number off the annual sheet. We're going to put our product service focus, right? Revenue target is remaining number. So remember on our annual planning sheet, we had target, expected, and remaining, right? So our revenue target on the monthly sheet is the remaining number from the annual sheet. Make sense? Now we're going to look back at the annual sheet and we're going to look at planning out, okay, this is the holiday in this particular month. We're just drawing out a calendar. Okay, this is the holiday in this particular month. And once we do that, then we want to essentially plan out all of the promos around that. Now, not all promos go to the whole list. Okay, so I'm not promoting the same thing over and over and over and over again every single day to the same person. That's not what this is all about. I may look at week one. Week one may be a promotion that the purpose is segmentation, right? I may have people on my list that have never bought circuit breakers, right? So my promotion in week one is to get some sales, and I'm promoting it to people that have never bought circuit breakers, right? specifically to see which of them buy and which of them raise their hand, essentially click on it saying, I'm interested in circuit breakers, right? I can begin to segment those things out. I can make some sales. Week 2, I may be promoting circuit breakers to people that have bought circuit breakers in the past, right? So as we build this out, this is more, we're going to break down via the weeks and or days and or whatever and say, what's our target, right? This is why segmentation becomes important, right? Because to get the most from our list, we want to segment people based on their interests, based on their behaviors, right? If we can work towards getting it tracked, so that way I can track and know in my email marketing system when somebody visits the circuit breakers pages on the website, then I can actually use that as a target, right, for the engagement campaign.
You had asked the question we were talking about on this line last week about when we were doing through the terminal for WordPress to go to other listings. That yes, we are doing the categories, and yes, that it's being tagged based on like cat number. Of course, category is a separate box, but then you have to tag everything that we can think of down below in each one of those specifics, and then we're able to pull hopefully that for the CRM to be able to build.
That's essentially what we want to be able to utilize, right? Because it's important for me to be able to know if somebody has never bought a circuit breaker from you, right? If they've never bought anything from you and they're on the list, then I've got that as a promotion, right? These are my prospects, but not customers, right? The next week may be customers that have never bought circuit breakers. The next week may be customers that have bought circuit breakers in the past, right? And then I may do a wild card. Okay? Wild card meaning that, and again, I'm just making it easy week. But if I've got a holiday in there, right, I may want to do a flash sale that goes out to everybody. Prospect, customer, whatever. It goes out to the list. Right? It's not really segmented. It's just going to go to the whole list. Right? So that may be within a particular week. Right? Now also here, I also have to plan out value. Because remember, promotions are not just about sales. Right. It's about value as well. So one of the things, interestingly enough, we can use this promotional planning worksheet for is to also help us with content planning. Right? So for example, if in this month I'm talking about circuit breakers, I do not want all of my content, valuable content, that is being broadcast out to anyone who is not in an engagement or ascension campaign. I don't want that content of value to be about electrical enclosures. My focus this month is on circuit breakers. So I want my content of value to be around the circuit breaker theme, right?
What is a circuit breaker? How do you use circuit breakers? How to replace circuit breakers?
Yeah. How to not die when you're installing a circuit breaker.
How to test a circuit.
Yeah. How to test it. How to figure out if it's bad, right?
Just because it's on doesn't mean it works.
Correct. When you see what to do when you see melted spots on circuit breakers, seen that. So it really boils down to that. So we can begin to plan content of value around it, and those promotions. So remember, when we're thinking promotion, the big thing that most people think is sale and coupon, right? That's not what we're talking about when we talk about promotion. That's a very limited thought process, right? My promotion, if I'm promoting circuit breakers for the month, it's what are all the assets that I have surrounding circuit breakers? How can I distribute these things to people so people who are interested in that get topics of value, get items of value, and there's a call to action in those emails. So not every email is going to be that whole flash sale coupon type deal, right? That's how you alienate your list real quick, because you just became Harbor Freight, right? Every email you've got is a coupon wanting you to buy something. There's nothing of real value, right?
And we go back to, even though we're obviously scheduling, planning, and creating our promotions, we still, all in all, need to bear in mind the basic rule, which is 4 to 6 pieces of non-promotional content for every promotional content. So you got to have more value.
Non-direct sales content. Don't call it non-promotional content, because you're thinking promotion like social media promotional. Social media type promotional is direct sales, right? So you want value content, value promotion versus direct sales promotion.
That's a better way to say it, yeah.
Okay. So you can promote products and services without saying, hey, you got to buy this now, right? You can promote stuff without doing that, right? It's unfortunate that most companies don't think about it that way, right? It is one of those things that if you say, over the next week we're going to be discussing 4 tips that, to help you test circuit breakers, right? 4 ways to test circuit breakers, right? And so each day they're getting a way to test circuit breakers, a way to test circuit breakers, a way to test circuit breakers. But down below that way to test circuit breakers, you may have a CTA. If you need a circuit breaker, click here, right? You're looking for circuit breakers, click here. You got that call to action there, right? Yeah. So it's those things when you think about creating content, by the way, when you have lists of the 9 most common failures within circuit breakers, you think about that, that's 9 emails, right? It's not 1 email with a list of 9. It's 9 emails in a series, right? So that's how we begin to split up and break up content, right? Anything that could become a bulleted list can become an email series. Make sense? And so once we do that, we got to remember we have to segment those audiences based on interest and so on and so forth. We don't want to run promotions back to back. In other words, if I'm running a direct promotional campaign around circuit breakers, right? So who do you choose who that may go to, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take list minus engagement minus ascension equals promotion.
So they're on the list.
They're on your list.
Any and all engagement will be removed from that.
If they're in an engagement campaign,
Oh, okay.
if they're in an ascension campaign, they would get removed from that, and it's the balance of those people who are in the promotion email. Why?
Because you don't want to inundate them.
Okay. So one thought process that a lot of people have, matter of fact, Mark and I discussed this not long ago, even though they may have said they were interested in motor starters, they could also be interested in circuit breakers. So why would I not send them the promotion about circuit breakers? Because I don't want to water down my message. Right? This is why we do annual recurring promotions. Right? I don't want to water down my message. For example, it's one of those things. It's like you're sitting there with a conversation with somebody, and you guys have all had these conversations with people, as I've had the conversations with people too. I know, I wish Rob were here at the moment, because he's the king at this. Sometimes it drives me nuts, right? So you're sitting there and you're having a conversation about a particular topic, and then all of a sudden they just shift the topic on you. And you're talking about something now completely different that is not related at all to what you were talking about. And then you got to try to shift the conversation back to get the point across that you were trying to make in the first place. Yeah. How frustrating is that? Very, right? It's like, why am I having to redirect our conversations every time we have a conversation? Right? You don't want your customers to feel that. Right? Why? I mean, we were having a conversation around motor starters. Why are you now talking about circuit breakers? Oh my Lord! Right? So you don't want to do that. You want to pull those people out of the promotion list. Now, I'm not saying that you can't add them to the flash sale if you're doing a quick flash sale, right? So you could send them the flash sale. I would just take them out of the other promotions, the other promotional series that you're doing for that particular month.
But once they buy the motor starters, and then trigger to start a campaign.
Maybe. Because in his case, once they buy the motor starters, we know they're interested in motor starters. So they're going to hit, once they buy it, I mean, we may have an Ascension campaign about buying more motor starters or buying additional stuff. Or that Ascension campaign, by the way, is a referral campaign, is a type of Ascension campaign. So we're ascending them higher on the customer list, right? So if I put them into a referral Ascension and I'm asking them for referrals and they give me referrals every now and then, that's an Ascension. Okay? Means they think enough about me. Their perception of me is elevated to a higher level, has ascended to a higher level, that they're thinking enough about me that they're actively giving me referrals. Right? That's when we get into those advocate and promoter levels. Right? So that's an Ascension campaign. And so that's something that we want to run regularly. Okay? Not daily. By regularly, I mean we want it to run essentially on a schedule. Right? So I may ask every 3 months, every 6 months, depending upon what's appropriate for that particular business, right? But that's an Ascension campaign. Now, it doesn't mean that if I'm in the middle of asking them for referrals, I don't want to mention, hey, by the way, we've got a sale on circuit breakers this week. If you need one, here's a coupon, 30% off. Right? Doesn't mean I don't want to do that. It just means that, again, I need to be cognizant of the conversation that I'm having with someone at any given point and making sure that I am not trying to continuously change that conversation, right? Because it confuses people, right? I mean, if I'm having a conversation with you about email marketing, and then all of a sudden I throw something like Video Pal out there, or or I throw out something like SEO or whatever it may be, right? Well, wait a minute, I now have to begin to explain that and have an entirely new conversation. But we were having a nice conversation about email marketing and you were showing interest, right? You're actively participating in that conversation. Why would I want to change that? Unfortunately, it's also the same thing that a lot of salespeople do. They want to word vomit. I say they product vomit on people. Well, you might be interested in this. You might be interested in this. You might be interested in this. What about this? You could be this, man. Maybe you aren't interested in this. What about this? What about this? What about this? Right? It reminds me of the old movies, with the dude that would walk up to you with the coat. And what can I get you? What can I get you? You got watches over here. He's got this stuff over here. What can I get you? What can I get you? What can I get you? Right? Nobody liked that dude. Nobody. Right? You don't want to be that person. Remember, email is about relationship, right? It is the number one tool to build and maintain relationships, so use it appropriately, right? If you're going to have a conversation with somebody, have a conversation. You can do segmentation later, right? Sending out quizzes or whatever it may be to find out if they are interested in something else, right? And then start that conversation appropriately. Make sense? You also don't want to run promotions back to back. So remember what I said, right? You may have the first week of the month where you're running a promotion to the list of people that have never bought from you, right? You don't want that list to get the same promotion next week and the same, and the same thing next week and the same thing next week. Why?
Opt out.
You get opt-outs. You get list burnout quick. Right. So you don't want to run promotions back to 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 people, because that's when they feel like, man, all they ever want to do is sell me something. Right? It's kind of like that, it's like that person that calls you up. I've got this one group of people that message me on Facebook Messenger, right? I do a lot of conversations with clients and those kind of things on Facebook Messenger. And it's like, hello, sir, are you there? Oh my God, no! Why? And if I say, yes, I'm here, it's the, hey, how are you? And then immediately into trying to sell me something, right? And he's a nice guy. He really is a nice guy. And I've bought stuff from them in the past. You know what I'm saying? I have done that in the past, which is fine. But it's one of those things of, don't message me 400 times a day kind of deal. Don't message me every day. Kind of deal. If all you're ever going to do is have the conversation with me about what else I can give you money for, right? You're like one of my kids.
Yeah,
It's time for this is not overfly. I will be out of the country for 30 days. Please do not respond.
I mean, I had to have the conversation with him last weekend. It's my daughter's wedding. Oh, have fun.
Buy a box of these?
Yeah.
Well, I got you.
Yeah, then literally he messaged me like 6 hours later. It's like 8 hours later. Yeah. I know you're not from this country, so maybe you don't understand our social norms. But we're about to have this conversation, okay? And I'm about to get ugly, right? Because I like you. But you know how sometimes in relationships you have those arguments and you butt heads? I'm going to be the one doing the headbutting, okay? Let's just throw that out there, right? You don't want people to feel that way, right? What can you do for me? What can you give me that's of value, right? I mean, it's like a lot of what we do on a regular basis, right? I record this stuff. Why? Because it's of value. You might want to go back and look at it later, right? You may need to go back and refresh your memory on that. Well, there's value there, All right, write regularly. Right? Put an article on the blog the other day. It was, tips for developing content. Right? It's how to get. I did one on 5 ways to improve your visibility with search engines. Right? That was the newest one.
Are you automatically putting all of these and those on the YouTube channel?
Not all of them, but many of them. Yes. So. The point is to be able to create that value over and over and over again. So even whether you buy something from me or not, at the end of the day, if I can provide ongoing value, at some point you may be at a point where you do need something, right? And here I am. And it really goes back to that. It's just that relational conversation.
Find that balance where it doesn't seem harassing.
Right.
When the person does show up in your inbox and
Right.
opt out of it, even open.
Right. Absolutely. That's really the key to what promotional planning is all about, right? It's about how do I plan my stuff appropriately, and if I know I can plan products or services where the demand for those products and services are high, it's much less likely that I'm going to get somebody ticked off because I'm talking about circuit breakers during time where shutdowns are happening. And these shutdowns are happening. I'm talking about circuit breakers and how circuit breakers, how you need to check circuit breakers during shutdowns and so on and so forth. And I'm having this full-on conversation. By the way, you can click here if you need to order some, right? I'm having that topic of value at a time that I know they're dealing with these situations. They're dealing with this kind of stuff. So it's much more likely that one, they're going to consume my content, and two, that as they have that need, because they are consuming my content, that they're going to click to see what I have, and as long as I have what they need, they're going to buy it from me.